All right, what's up, Blueprint family? Thank you all for joining us tonight. It's Marriage Fit Friday. Welcome,
Right.
welcome to the weekend. Hope you all had a good week, had a great week, and thank you all for joining in on us. And so tonight's topic is about discernment, discernment in marriage. What is it, and how to make the right decision for your future?
Mhm. Let's check all the cameras. Yeah, running a little behind per usual, but this is a pretty cool topic. It was based off of a very simple question, but this simple question is a super important one, I think, because overall, discernment is a super valuable tool that you can use to help make healthy decisions and, more than just your romantic life, but your personal, deeper with like other personal relationships as well as your professional relationships too. So this information is pretty much going to be helpful for developing discernment in general, but then also the application for marriage and a relationship. Look at the simple question. You want to read it?
Can you explain what is discernment when dating?
Yeah, that was it. And that's pretty, that's such a simple question. But, I've of course heard this spoken by more than other platforms than just this one, so this isn't the first time, but I haven't really heard anyone go into true detail on that topic and like actually how to develop it and how to like use it, because it is something that I wish was kind of taught in school in a way, because discernment would really be helpful. But again, this is more of a, I guess that takes out of the spiritual aspect of it, because discernment does play a huge spiritual role as well. Yeah.
Does it?
Yeah.
How so?
Well, when we get in, I can actually. Do you want to start there? Is that where you're going to go? Because
No,
it's
we could get there.
discernment.
I mean,
Yeah, because I mean, discernment, tradition, like, well, not traditionally, but like the first term, the first real use of discernment is kind of played back in like religious views of when people would say the application of being able to discern or tell the Holy Spirit from um, other worldly spirits or gods or stuff of that nature. So it was the application of being able to know good from evil, right from wrong. So it really had that deeper spiritual root first. And then we'll also get into how you can actually develop that within yourself, because that's kind of where the whole idea of like intuition and all that comes from. But in reality, it's discernment really that you're learning to develop and being able to apply it to different areas of your life. So,
right. And when I think of discernment, it's dealing with choosing the right mate.
mm-hmm.
So ultimately, if you all can have that mindset and understand these applications when we talk about that, and how you are also held accountable for who you allow into your life, you do that by using discernment. So that's, some of you all may not have heard this word before, and it may be new, especially if you're a younger person.
Right,
So
yeah.
that is a thing, and it is very important because you shouldn't be hanging around people who don't um who aren't productive in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And also too, this understanding discernment prevents people from picking bad mates, and especially based off of their morals and their actions.
Yeah, yeah, so true. Well, let's just, I always like to break down first with like definitions, right? So let's actually come to discover what the word means. So, discernment by definition is the ability to make wise judgments about what is true, good, and right. It is the ability to see beyond the surface of things and understand the deeper meaning of events and situations. So, again, like exactly like you said, this is pretty much essential for you to make good decisions in your life, whether professional or personal, for sure. And you certainly want to make a good decision when it comes to your personal life, like marriage,
Right.
because yeah, that's
Yeah.
really why I think a lot of people end up in divorce, because they didn't take that time of discernment, because discernment really requires that time. And it's a lot of different facets of it, which we'll get into as well. But that time needs to be taken to really get to know the spouse and have these conversations on whether or not you guys are aligned to actually have a lifelong and fulfilling marriage for both of you, because you want that.
Right. And then the alignment is based on realistic expectations.
Right.
So just wanted to throw that out there. So
Yes, that is so true. So, if you are looking for a long lasting and fulfilling relationship, we're going to dig in right onto discernment and how it is actually helpful for you. So, first, these are the ways that you can actually look at it from you first, right? So, we always think of when it comes to a relationship, you have to do the things within yourself, connect yourself, and align yourself basically with whatever it is you want to receive. So, discernment is super important so that you can be clear about what you're looking for in your spouse. You want to know what your own values are, what your priorities are, and in particular, you want to be able to identify the things that you want your spouse to exemplify for you. So then that way you be able to identify when you see it in a person,
right.
pretty much.
And before we go any further, just wanted to throw this out there. This is a live call-in show, so we thank you all for joining us. And at any time, if you all have any questions or comments, please share them with us, and we will be able to get to those.
Yeah. Let me see. Hold on. Is that music still on? Okay.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
the
think it was.
music.
Yeah, I
It
don't
was
think it
on
was
mute.
really playing. Yeah. Anyways, back into discernment.
Yep. So discernment can help you to assess capability of your values and priorities with those of your date or
Yeah.
who you're dating. So once you know your own values and priorities, you can start to assess the capabilities of these with those of who you're dating. So discernment can help you to have honesty and open conversations about things so that you can make sure that you are on the same page, alignment. So, did a video months ago about questions that you need to ask
Yeah.
someone that you're dating,
Yeah.
and that goes into discernment, making
Mm-hmm.
sure that your expectations are met, making sure that you understand what barriers or what is it barriers? I think what not necessarily barriers, but what you basically stand for, what you don't
Deal
stand for.
breakers.
Yeah, deal breakers. Understanding what deal breakers are in your life, making sure that these people who you're trying to bring into your life understand these things and they don't have any issues with those, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So you just want to make sure that you both are aligned in the values and your your core beliefs
Yeah.
and etc. So
Yeah, and we'll get into actually those specific questions a little bit later. I think that's pretty cool to actually dig into that a little deeper so that you can know how to apply this to your real life dating scenario or even your, engagement. If you're already that far as long as getting engaged or maybe even married, you need to, and you've never actually done this, this would be very helpful to just see, kind of where you are stand because it doesn't mean that you can't course correct, but discernment will certainly bring to awareness the things that you need. And in particular, when we talk about awareness, discernment will certainly help you to identify red flags early. You need that. That is super important so that you
you
don't
need to
fall
say that
victim.
again.
Yeah, discernment will help you to identify red flags
Right.
early. You need that.
Right, and get used to that. We're
Yeah.
not trying to say because the thing is that I practice and what I preach is risk management. So you don't put yourself in a situation where there are risks or around risky people. In other words, people who don't mean you any good and
Yeah.
people who don't exemplify um, doing the right thing. You don't want to have to fall into a relationship with somebody. Now I understand you may say that, hey, well, this person fooled me or was a wolf in sheep's clothing or whatever. But the thing about that is that there are telltale signs
Mm-hmm.
of people. Now this is the thing: if you didn't go and ask the correct questions and then you just fell into a relationship with this person, then you are also held accountable for your actions.
Yeah.
So therefore you weren't discerning, just you didn't use discernment enough in vetting in the vetting process of this person. So you see that a lot of times in these young relationships that people just jump into because it's new, it's different, and they're just leaving home, or whether you're going to college or graduating from high school, you just think it's cool to just move in with your boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever the case may be. So you have to really understand this topic in order to make the whether you are making a good decision or not, to judge whether you're making a good decision or not.
Yep. Yeah, that is so true. You want to make sure.
Right,
Early.
exactly.
Also, lastly, discernment will certainly help you to make wise decisions about your future. Exactly what you were saying, because dating really is a journey, right? So you're going to be meeting a lot of different people, having a lot of different experiences, and all of that. You need to be discerning in those decisions as you go along. You certainly don't want to continue to get involved with someone who is giving you the telltale signs that something is going wrong, because often when that happens, things get worse. And then if you really don't know and you end up getting engaged to married to somebody then who may have been manipulative, abusive, or whatever the case may be, then you kind of really got yourself in a big rut that you want to make sure to not get yourself in
Right,
actually from the very beginning. So
right.
yeah. Yep. Anyways, by developing discernment, I'm sure we probably don't have to convince you too much, but anyways, by developing discernment, you are certainly going to help make the right decision for your life, because you should want to get married and spend your life with somebody, but definitely the right person. So, yeah. Here are some tips for you to start off with. So, we're going to go first into you, like we were talking about, and us, because these are things that we did and apply. Everybody, again, needs to use discernment all throughout your life, but it starts within first, and then we're going to apply it to a relationship. So first, get to know yourself. We love to talk about journaling. We're going to go into some other ways of doing it, but journaling in particular is a great way for you to like write down specifics. What are your values? What are your priorities? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? The more you know about yourself, the better equipped you can be to make those decisions of having a spouse who can, offer you what you need, and you can provide to them what they need as well. If you don't know this, you don't know your strengths, you don't know your weaknesses, you don't know, your values, you don't know your core priorities in life. What are your goals? What are your fears? What are your hopes? What are your dreams for the future? If you don't know these things, you can't have the plan to obtain them, and you certainly can't have the plan to, get yourself the things that you need to get to that point. So if you could just take the time, write it out. If it's easy, maybe it might involve, talking to a friend or a mentor if writing is not your thing, however that is. Or some people go as far as like taking personality tests. Like those are out there as well. Like that just will give you little certain things of getting to know about yourself. Maybe if you're big on numerology, this world is numbers, believe it or not. So maybe go into numerology. Numerology will tell you a lot about yourself, going from your name and your birthday and time you were born, all of that stuff. It really does matter. So those are just some things to help you deepen the relationship with yourself, which will really help you develop more discernment as you go along. Yeah.
And then be aware of your biases. So
Yeah.
we have biases,
Yeah.
and so which can also are preconceived notions or beliefs that can cloud our judgment.
Yeah.
So it's important to be aware of your biases so that you can try to overcome them. And also, an example, you can ask yourself questions like, am I making this decision based on my own personal preferences? Or am I considering all of my options?
Yeah, that's more so certainly important when you talk about realistic expectations.
Hmm.
And if this is something, we're really in a world that kind of immerses us in so many different fantasies and luxuries. And like, this is like, whoo, the time,
Material.
yeah, technology has put a whole 2.0 life for sure, because a lot of people, their expectations are really extreme, but that's important to kind of hone on in and say, am I really making this good decision based off of all the realistic options, or am I, just basing this off of some bias or some preconceived notion that I have, thought over and over and over that may not necessarily be true, but I haven't taken the time to challenge that thought and figure out if it is true. That is a huge part of discernment. You have to know and challenge your thoughts that are within yourself, because believe it or not, we are all a byproduct of our programming, especially from our childhood. So you have to pay attention to how you were programmed, the thoughts and beliefs that you adopted, maybe even not in positive thoughts, but negative thoughts that you adopted from, your parents that naturally wouldn't have been yours had they not fed it to you. But since that you now have these thoughts, you can often act on thoughts that aren't in your best interest. So this actually leads us right into the next huge point when it comes to discernment, and that's learning to discern the higher vibrational thoughts from your lower vibrational ones. Why does this matter? Well, our thoughts really do influence our behavior on a large scale. So if you are forever focused on your negative thoughts, oftentimes what's that's going to happen is you're going to make more decisions that are negative and not likely to impact your life in a positive way, because you're not thinking in the right frame of mind, or like you're not thinking within your best interest in a way because it's negative. So how can you make decisions based off of that? And that's not good. So if we can focus more on figuring out how to discern those higher and lower thoughts from each other, then you're really able to know if this is something that's worth my best interest or actually for my best interest or not. Yeah, you can go.
Yep, and then also to seek out wise counsel. So mentoring or a third party or somebody who has a lot of experience in
Yeah.
that field. So they can offer you valuable insight and advice. For example, you can talk to your parents, or your spiritual advisor, your pastor,
Mhm.
a mentor or a friend who is good at making good decisions.
And you can schedule a consultation with us too.
Right.
It's always an
That's an option.
option.
So that's always, everyone needs a mentor,
Mhm.
especially the younger people growing up. Your
Yeah.
mentor cannot be your social media, cannot be your rap music or whatever music you listen to. It really needs to be someone who actually living through life and and is setting that example of that life that you actually want to live.
Yeah.
I would prefer always a married man or a married woman,
Hmm.
who is righteous in their cause and focuses on their family. If they
Yeah.
have time for you,
Yeah.
that you are a lucky person if you can find that person. To be honest with you, because not a lot enough people out here mentor or try to provide their input into someone else who's but also too, there's not a lot of people out here who's receptive either to trying to get advice from people. So
Yeah. That's true.
just be open to it.
Yeah, that is so true. And of course, though, if you are more on the do it yourself type of thing, then do your research, right? So do as much research as you possibly can about whatever the topic is that you're trying to know. The more information that you can take into your brain, the more you're able to have options that will allow you to be discerning throughout different life events. So, you can read books, you can read articles, you can read websites about the topic. I think you're supposed to every day spend at least an hour reading something educational, maybe an hour watching something educational, just or something that's going to add value
Add
into your
value,
life.
yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't, well, it's educational. That's
Hmm.
value. Yeah, more than likely. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for those hearts too. We really
Oh
appreciate it. Somebody
yeah.
flash some hearts up there. Let
Thank
us know
you.
that you are listening. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. But you can also like talk to people who have experience in the area or listen to videos. This is one right here. So kudos already checking that off your list for the day of gaining something worth of value. But that's always just a great way for you to have a lot of information to draw from, or more like experience or wisdom, because they say like you can take on somebody else's wisdom by listening and learning from their experience, so you don't go make the same mistakes that they did.
Right,
So you can,
exactly.
yeah, even if it's not your experience, you can just draw from that as experience and be like, ooh,
Risk that's another portion of risk management. It's
yeah,
just taking someone else's experience and applying it to you in your life
yeah,
and making sure that you don't make the mistakes that they did. That is the
yeah,
purpose of your parents bestowing their wisdom upon you, and parents don't do that enough. And,
yes,
and not to beat down our parents or our grandparents, but that the current social um situations that we currently have today, and I'm
yeah.
talking about divorce, is a good measuring stick of that
Mm-hmm.
lack of that wisdom that was not passed down to us. But that's my opinion about it. You may have some sort of other opinion about how
Yeah,
we got here, but that's one of the factors I believe, that our parents, a lot of our parents were silent about relationship, especially grandparents. But also too, they don't have the technology and the communications that we have today. But we always, I had a friend ask that, how did our grandparents make it? Because what happened after our parents were not married. So, and then generations, after that, you see
Yeah.
that trend. You see the trend. We see it in numbers. We see it in statistics.
Yeah.
So yes, apply that wisdom to your life. It's called,
That, yeah.
risk management. Practice it.
Yeah. That is generational wealth to me.
Right.
People associate generational wealth so much with just the money, but to me, true generational wealth is in the knowledge that you pass
Pass
down
down.
to your family. That is true
And hoping
wealth.
that your
Yeah.
children use it for wisdom.
Right, because and that, like you said, was lost. Not so you look at like the 360 the faculties of how we were missing that within the Black and brown communities in particular, but just missing not just the money, but the generational wealth of the knowledge of how to navigate through life and relationships. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's not the end. Thankfully, like you're saying, we now have access to a lot of information,
Right.
but it's all in you taking in this information and using it. So never take anything from face value. Even what we say, go back and do the research. Quite frankly, if somebody doesn't encourage you to go fact check whatever they say, they're not offering you nothing that's of real value, because then they're, they don't want you to go do that research. But please do that research for every single thing in your life, so then that way you can make healthy decisions for yourself.
Discernment.
Yeah, exactly. Discernment. Yeah. Another part of discernment, this is a little more my side of it, but listening to your intuition. So, sometimes people want to discount that intuition, but it really is your gut feeling that's inside that you have to really pay attention to, because it could serve as a valuable source of guidance. This also goes back to what I was talking about earlier, being able to discern that higher guidance from that lower guidance. Because sometimes, you can have somebody put a little birdie in your ear, or something, some energy, put a little birdie in your ear that's not, a value for you. It's important for you to be able to discern, is this the right thought to be picking up on? Is this the right source of guidance? If have a bad feeling, one of my favorite ways to be able to tell the difference between a higher vibrational thought source of energy and a lower vibrational thought source of energy is how you feel. How does it make you feel when it takes it in? Because that's important. Higher vibrational thoughts make you feel happy. They make you feel good. They make you feel joy, ecstasy. Lower ones make you feel guilt, shame, embarrassment, fear, more importantly. So really being able to use that goes into the spiritual part that we kind of hit on earlier, where you were asking me, how is discernment spiritual?
Mm-hmm.
That's how,
I mean, yeah, I guess so too. I mean, to me, that's more human to me. Yeah. I mean, because we get these bad feelings about something. Yeah. You see, it reminds me of a child, and they see their friend stealing candy or something, and they be like, wow, that's bad. I shouldn't do it. Mm-hmm. Or should I do it? No, should I? That devil and that angel feeling. Yeah. Your consciousness telling you something. Yeah. To me, that is human. We all have these capabilities. So I don't think it's just something that's magical or anything like that. We all have those abilities, and we should listen to those. Our consciousness when it tells us something. Yeah.
And in particular, how do you build that up within yourself is, if you're religious, some people are religious. So if you're religious, you can pray to God and ask him to guide you, and, ask your angels, your higher self, ascended masters, whoever you pray to, ask them to lead you and guide you. Of course, be discerning about that so that you can make wise choices in your life. And all gods ain't good gods. So, we ain't gonna get into that. But your higher self is what really connects you to the divine. So once you are able to tap into that part of yourself that connects you with love and compassion and peace, you can really make those discerning decisions of good consciousness,
right?
Not the bad. I think, truth be told, what they said, the devil and the angel is within you. And so every day you have the choice to decide to go with the devil, you go with your angel, but it's all within us. This is not nothing that's an outside source or anything else. Nobody's going to hurt you. Nobody's physically out there doing anything with horns or anything. No, that's within you. And it's all you, your power, your choice. And it's all based on what you choose to do and what you choose to go with. And that's the God within us that gives us that choice. So make the right choice.
Right.
I think one more thing I do want to say about this. I know I'm more of a spiritual side, so I will go into this because I like to kind of in a way preach about that to help build our communities with that, because I really think we need that. But meditation is, oh, I'm sorry, we got some comments. Hi, thank you. You be on it, and I be talking. But meditation is super big to help you develop better discernment within yourself, because in particular when you meditate you are learning to observe your thoughts from a higher plane,
So,
and you're able to be discerning in your biases, in I guess the lower form thoughts, the programming that you have taken on in younger childhood that you may not necessarily want to hold on to. But then also you can be aware of your feelings and stuff without judgment. So when you're sitting there and you're meditating and you're learning to quiet your mind, you're learning to push aside your judgment. That's actually going to be something that you carry along in other decisions that you make, because judgment is, a bias, and you want to steer away from that. You want to be as open as possible to be able to receive that discernment, and to see things from a clear view. So, yeah, that is just a little bit more of how you could use discernment for that.
yep. And then also to be patient. So the discernment takes time. Um, don't expect to, just like any major decision, or if you're contemplating something, you have to utilize your patience.
Yeah.
Don't make knee-jerk reactions or knee-jerk decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So discernment takes time. So don't expect to be able to make wise decisions overnight.
Yeah.
Be patient with yourself and with the process. So young ladies, if it's like an older guy out there who that don't mean good, you may think with your emotions. Take some time out from not communicating with this person and evaluate yourself and where you're currently at, and then also all of your options and possibilities. Same thing for guys. If there's a female out there that that you probably should not get with, and they're showing red flags, play out all your options, and then you need to be patient and make sure that you make the right decision. So be patient with yourself with this process. Another example, if you're facing a difficult decision, give yourself some time to think about it, think it through. Don't feel pressured to make a decision right away.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true, especially with something like
Marriage,
marriage.
yes. Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Make sure that you ask all of those questions that you need to in the beginning. So marriage is a long life commitment, a lifelong commitment. So it's important to take time to get to know your partner, to make sure that you are
Mhm.
compatible, you are aligned, you all talk about things that actually matter outside of material things, your
Yeah.
favorite colors and what you like to eat and what car you drive and how much money you got. Make sure that you all are actually goal driven. You all are working towards something. By using discernment, make sure that you all are loyal to each other. You don't have any secret uh mistresses or anybody else that you're messing with.
Yeah.
So by using discernment, you can increase your chances of finding a spouse who is a good match for you,
Yeah.
and with whom you can build a happy and fulfilling marriage.
Yeah. Yep. So I think let's get on into how we can apply all those tips that we just talked about for yourself, how you can apply that for vetting your spouse, because that's really what you want to apply that to when you're talking about personal relationships. So the first one, of course, we already got into that part of you figuring out your own values and stuff. Now you got to tap in and figure out, what are your spouse's values? What are your spouse's priorities? What are the most important things in life to them? That is a great question to ask. What are their goals? What are their dreams? You have to know their values and their priorities in order to see if it's actually something that's going to work with you. And even in particular, if they're even equipped to, go along with the life that you are envisioning for yourself. You want to make sure that they have that for them. In particular, this made me think a better way to ask, what do you bring to the table, is more like you could say, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Instead of that, what do you bring to the table type stuff? Because when you ask, kind of like a job, what are your strengths and your weaknesses? You're better to understand and see how your date sees themselves and how they are going to contribute to the relationship. Because if they say that, whatever their strength is, that they're patient, that they're, hardworking, loving, whatever, it is going to be different for both the man and the woman. If they say that these are their strengths and that this can be applied to something that you're looking for as far as dreams and values and goals for your life, then that's going to be helpful for you. But then also when they get into their weaknesses, you'll be able to be aware of some things that are probably going to be some hindrances for your relationship, some things that you're going to have to work through. And if it's too much for you, then, hey, gotta back up a little bit from that. You can also ask, like, what are your hopes and fears for the future? This question will help you to understand kind of like what your spouse's or your date is looking forward to in life. How do they envision life in a different way from them just telling you, oh, I want to be married or whatever, let them know. It kind of gets to know like what they're concerned about per se, whether or not they have a negative mindset on men or women or relationships or whatever it is. You kind of get a peek into their mind, and that is huge because their mind is who you're gonna be
dealing with on a daily basis.
Exactly.
I would like to also add too is that you need to know what their realistic expectations are. So ask about their realistic expectations, and when it comes to marriage, what roles they like to see, what roles they believe in as far as marriage. Is it traditional, or do they want the husband to stay at home, or do they want to work? Do they want their own bank account? Things like that. And then also too, if they believe in the institution of marriage,
right,
and what that looks like, because
and committed to it,
right? Because you might get a man who you might be dating a man who says, well, hey, I'm not really looking for a lot.
Yeah,
I'm not really looking for a serious relationship,
right.
and you can find that out especially if you ask them all these questions and they try to avoid them,
right.
a man or a woman. So if they're not refusing to answer these questions, especially on like date number 2, then you can probably, throw that red flag up and then dismiss them, or, dismiss the situation, because you're using discernment.
Yeah.
So you see how this works. So it does take questions to get to understanding whether or not this person can fit into your life, but you have to know what questions to ask.
Yeah. Yep, that's so true. Another one that kind of digs into your questions is to talk about your past.
Yes.
A lot of people don't think that, oh, why you gotta dive into the past, but it's important for you to know what their experiences were with past relationships. That is huge, because you want to know, what have they learned in the past. Their relationships failed in the past, so what have they learned, more important, going forward. And then also you can kind of understand if your spouse is moved on past their past, if they struggle talking about it, if they don't, that it just gives you an overall understanding of where they're actually at and how this will apply to the present and the future.
Right. And then also too, you have a reference to hold them accountable to.
Yeah.
Their words.
Yeah.
So if they were a habitual cheater in the past, and they said, well, I've learned not to do those things anymore, and I've, turned my life over and all this other stuff, then you hold them accountable to that. And so if you're, a few months down and you realize this person is not who they say they were, then you can dismiss them. So you can use your discernment again there, and then realize that this person is not yet ready to be in a marriage. They're not marriage fit.
Yeah.
So I wanted to throw marriage fit in there because it's Marriage Fit Friday. So that's the reason why we're giving out all this information. That's what we do on Fridays.
And every day, really. But, it's pretty nice it sounds good. Like
Marriage Fit. That's
this one really helps you.
Right. That's one of our goals, is to, make people more marriage fit, more marriage minded.
Yeah, attack those divorce statistics. Because again, we always say that generational wealth of how to make it work isn't really passed on. So now you can't say that. I do believe that it has been a lot of great examples of people trying to help, pass things along. But if more and more and more people talk about the good, then more people will be able to pick up on that and use that and apply that in their life. If we focus so much on the bad, then, it's all people thinking about. Again, right. And like we just said, when you're thinking about a lot of negative things, you're less likely to make those positive choices and healthy choices in your life, because you dwell a lot in the negative. So yeah. Another one, pay attention to your gut, right?
Like you said earlier. Mm-hmm. So no, don't ignore your intuition. So if something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't.
Yeah.
Messing with somebody who's married.
Right.
Women do that. Men do it.
Right.
There's a thing called karma.
Yes.
You're not exempt from it. I don't know anybody who is exempt from karma. I've had my share of karma. We all have. Yeah. That is something that you can't ignore, and try to. If you try to, let me know how well that works out for you. But yeah, those type of things you don't do. Yeah. So be mindful of those intuitive instincts that we all have, whether they're big or small. Just pay attention to it. Yeah. Use your patience and discernment about it.
And please, please, please be discerning on that guidance, that inner guidance too.
Right.
Got to. Now I can't. I'm not gonna downplay that because as much as I want you to be spiritual, they a lot that involves that. So please be discerning with that as well. Anyways, talk to your spouses, friends, and family. So, what do they think of your spouse that you're dating? How's their relationships with their parents? How does that look? How was the dynamic growing up within that household? That is a big impact on how they're
Right.
going to move forward.
Yeah, and don't and pay attention to that. Don't it's not those aren't small details.
Yeah.
The child, the person that you're dealing with, their childhood reflects a lot about who they are today,
Yeah.
whether they have past traumas, issues with separation, or what do you call it, abandonment issues, daddy issues, mommy issues, or what have you. You can see it more clearly through their interaction with their parents.
Yeah.
Don't ignore these things. If the person is a good person, this is something you may need to support them with. May you need to bring it to their attention
Yes.
in a nice and
That's
peaceful
huge.
way.
Yeah.
But you
That's
need to
huge.
also let them know that, hey, I'm here to support you with that if you're trying to, become better at, abandonment issues or what have you, their trauma, because you don't want to, that's those are bags as well that you carry into your relationship. A lot of times people think of past relationships. We talked about talking about your past relationships. Those type of bags that you bring into the relationships may also be from your parents as well. The situation of somebody else and their family members who may have traumatized them in the past. So, those things do creep into your relationship, and it rears its head. So you need to be able to work those things out, especially before you start making a deeper, more committed relationship into marriage.
Yeah.
Because these things can also show symptoms in the relationship and help and may break down in communication later. So these are things you need to be aware of.
Yeah.
Don't ignore these things. Don't ignore.
Yeah, even for your own good too, because I think we're all having some level of trauma within our lives based on childhood and this society. But in particular, somebody's one trauma may be heavier than yours, and that might be too much for you to take on. So
Right.
that's not the one for you if their trauma is too much for you.
Right.
And that's okay. You have a right to that too.
You said everybody's going through some sort of trauma. This is only 2023. We just came out of COVID about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So that was a traumatic situation as well.
Yeah,
So
we've
hopefully people reflected on themselves, but I think that that separation and that loneliness has also created people to find some sort of traumas within themselves, or either it created some new traumas or either got rid of some. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And be patient with that, like you said.
Right. Yeah.
Because sometimes you will have a great person who you can get through something with, but you might be a little intimidated or whatever by the trauma. But if it's again not too bad, when something that you can take on, then don't be afraid, because you really could probably help that person grow. I think loneliness is really a cure for a lot of the things going on within our society right now.
You mean
And I mean,
loneliness?
not loneliness, combating loneliness would be a cure for a lot of the things in our society, because our relationships are a great, great source of connection and healing that is just right here. So, if we can just look to build that and come together and understand that, we all need somebody, and it's nice to have somebody, and it's not even about just, oh, I can be independent and do it on my own, I don't need nobody. I get all that. Sometimes that is deeply rooted in fear, believe it or not.
Right.
Fear
Yeah.
of something
Either some
happening.
past
Yeah.
trauma that you went through. I didn't mean to
Yeah.
cut you off, but
No,
you're
yeah.
completely right about that.
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah. That's
But yeah,
real.
we did a show about loneliness too. It was what you said, something about a statistic about loneliness is like compared to like smoking a certain amount of
Yeah.
cigarettes a day or something like that.
Yeah, from the Harvard study, 25. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or 15
I
cigarettes a
forgot
day. I'm sorry.
15
Yeah,
cigarettes a
15
day.
cigarettes a day. Yeah.
And I think it's after what age? Like 65 or something?
Oh, it's 60. After 65, it goes up. I think that's more than that. But
Right.
yeah.
So smoking kills.
Right.
And we don't think you think loneliness don't.
Yeah.
We kind of take that for granted. You might think you might be living off cool by yourself or what have you, but If it depend, look at your age. Add 30 years to that and see what loneliness looks like. I'm just saying, you know. I'm just saying, men and women, you know, think of your age right now and add 30 years and see what that looks like if you're by yourself still, you know.
Right.
So just saying.
God didn't even want that from us. Like, He gave us somebody. Like, life is, why not enjoy life with somebody? Like, that's really what it's genuinely about. When we talk about marriage, people get it twisted and think, oh, we're just talking about going to the courthouse and bringing in the state. No. God had created the institution of marriage first to bring love and connection and to actually provide the man and the woman with coming together to have more dominion over the things within our life. You can't, God is able to work through you and a spouse so much better than he is just you alone. Not saying that, you can't do great things by yourself, but what you can do with somebody else will be even more amazing, if you can come together. So, we love to get into that just because it's important. And that's certainly one thing that we're looking to attack here too. Is it clipping? Testing? Oh. Oh my gosh. Was it not even on?
But you can hear it through my mic though.
Oh no. Our kids messing with the thing. Hold on. I'm sorry, y'all. Technical difficulties. All right. That's why it's nice though. We're on like a lot of different platforms, so that if one thing, we don't have to run this back though. Maybe just run on maybe just run YouTube's. I mean Instagrams.
Well, I mean it was able to feed through both mics because we're so close.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
Well, that's good. And luckily, I talk loud, so.
Right.
That's all right. That's why we gotta listen to the thing. We gotta get like a maybe a learn to ask, like check in. We're gonna start doing that, like maybe checking in and being like, "Hey, how's the sound and stuff like that." I know.
Well, that's usually what we normally do a sound check before, but we were
running late.
Yeah.
We got kids, y'all. Sorry. We showed up though. All right. Anyway, back to what we were saying. Let's see. Okay. Oh yeah, we were talking about your spouse and talking to your spouse's family and getting to know them. But then also too, you can kind of get, especially if they got siblings, you can really get kind of an insight into your spouse's character and kind of how they were like growing up and stuff like that. If they played well together, if they knew how, if they fight a lot, if they, dealt with like jealousy or anything of that nature. All of those are great things to kind of get an idea of like your spouse's character and if, that would be somebody that you could deal with forever, because everybody got their pet peeves, right? Or their tendencies that may annoy one person. But if you can deal with your spouse's little annoyances that they may have, then you're surefire going to be able to get through marriage, because that's what it's about, kind of being able to put aside those little annoyances, especially after you get through the honeymoon phase. Like we talk about the honeymoon phase being that phase where you're just like doped up on the hormones and the ecstasy of love and all the great things. And scientifically, you really do overlook those little things that you actually might not like about a person, but you will be like blinded to it, kind of have that bias of based off of hormones though in a way, because you're so in love. But by the time all that wear off, you actually see these tendencies. If you're not aware that this spouse or person can act in this way, it could really cause some problems in the long run when those little feelings die down. So yeah, it just really gives you a little way to be able to tap in and gather more information so you can make a more informed decision on who you're dating and who you're going to marry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Next.
So spend time together in different settings. So get to know your partner in different contexts. This will help you to see how they interact with different people and in different situations.
Yes, that's huge.
Right. So stop Netflixing and chilling all the time.
Yeah, and get out there.
And, go to those family gatherings and all that other stuff and make it a issue for your uncle to vet your boyfriend and all of that,
Yeah.
Make sure that they're the right person.
Yeah, I would even like go to different festivals, be exposed to like different environments, and like let's say when you travel with a person, you get to experience not only experience but seeing how they interact in different like cultures and stuff in a way.
So kind of like seeing all of that too, all of that is going to be big. I always say, like, if you pay attention to how your spouse or the person that you're dating is responding to somebody that's serving them, that is huge, because that'll let you know if they're going to be appreciative for the things that you're going to do to them.
Like a waiter or the waitress.
Yeah, if they're rude, if somebody, or even if somebody pisses them off, like if they actually have like an accident, how are their knee-jerk reactions to these things that, you know, just happen? That matters. How they take the time to, if they really sit back and think and contemplate before they act, or do they just full-fledged act and don't even think? That is a big thing to take in consideration, because you don't want that person to put you in any type of situation just because they couldn't control themselves. This will apply for a man or a woman. So definitely, that's not so much to try to test your spouse, but
I mean, well, why not though?
Yeah, but
because
you're not creating it, but
yeah, but the boyfriend and girlfriend situation is an audition for marriage. Yeah. So I mean, why not piss them off a little bit and see if you all can get, you know, see if you all can see if you all can get through the argument or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
You know, if you all, I would say like 5 weeks in, or a month or 2 months in. You know, I'm not saying, I said this the other night.
Do something to annoy them, I guess.
Do something to annoy them. Maybe. Don't do something to break up the relationship, like infidelity or something.
Right. Oh yeah.
Or theft. I said this the other night. No, nothing criminal. Not at all. I'm not saying that. But you know, I don't know. You know, I've said it the other night. You know, like leaving hair in the sink, if for a woman or a guy or whatever. You know, drop their toothbrush in the toilet by accident or something. But you know, you tell them.
Or do it. I don't know.
Right. I don't know.
That's
but you
risky.
know, because you really don't know people. You really don't know
I get it. That's random.
With the facade that people have, the honeymoon phase can last up to 2 years. In a new relationship. So you really want to know every facet and every angle of this person, and to make sure that you all can conflict resolve in a healthy way. There's no shutting down, no arguments, no competition. Or either those are things that you can recognize that you all can work on and are willing to work on. Because sometimes dealing with trauma, and a lot of traumatic people out here, they're not willing to work on anything, and they're a flight risk. They will just leave.
Yeah.
And you're just left with empty text messages, no phone calls back, and all of that. And so that lets you know that, you know, it wasn't going to work out in the first place.
Yeah. I was trying to think of a live example of how I would do it, because I don't know. That is risky for a woman. Whew, I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to think of how was like a real life application for that. Whether I would maybe not texting back as fast, but at the same time, you like, because a lot of the times you want to do things that are going to show that, you know, this is healthy traits that you have. But I totally get your concept.
Yes, but a lot of times relationships fall apart when there are issues.
Yeah.
So it's not always blue skies and rainbows. It's not.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure that the last part I would say is making sure that you all can work through an argument. If you all can, reconcile an issue, negotiate and resolve conflict. So that is one very important thing, you know, because I said this a couple videos ago, is that it's not likely that everybody are in a relationship where you don't have a disagreement. You have to learn that part, especially people who were not raised with siblings. So a lot of times, if you're raised alone, if you are the only child, you had no one to argue with other than your parents. So how are you going to what do you look like arguing with your spouse or someone who is someone you're dating? You know, so I guess that's a realistic situation. So just want to throw that out there.
Yeah. Of course, pay attention to how their environment is, you know, so when you're talking about different settings, how do they keep their car? How do they keep their house? How do they keep, their place, their living quarters? All of that matters. It's going to certainly give you a peek into how they keep their stuff, if they're clean or whatnot, maybe even, I think I would do for a test, I would maybe do a pop-up. Like, just random. I don't know. Men and women could do this. I don't know. Maybe it's like a pop up and see, hey, brought you something. Don't pop up empty handed and then,
but that doesn't really.
Just to see what they're living like. Don't prepare, especially if somebody didn't prepare.
Like. Okay.
If y'all have never.
And that kind of comes off like you don't trust them.
Yeah. But
that comes off like you don't trust
right,
them.
and that's what I was saying. Like that's why I was a little iffy about that, because it's like it's risky. It's on the fence, because you're like, you don't want to show like, oh, I don't trust you, and you don't want to be necessarily like I'm testing you, but you do want to see like, how would this be? How would we be? You know, and then at some
Right, because
point,
if y'all
yeah,
are legit,
right,
if y'all are 3 months in, yeah, I would say that. Yeah, that's a good one, honey. Just pop
yeah,
up and see, hey, knock on the
yeah.
door,
Bring something,
surprise.
bring some goodies, some
Right.
sweet, some should like, some he'll like. I
Because
don't
I
know,
mean, you
bring
would want to
something.
know. You would want to know, especially if they're dealing with someone else.
Yeah, I mean,
You know.
yeah, you just, that's one certain way to know, for sure. Work wise, I don't know, bring them lunch, pop up at work, bring them lunch, bring her lunch, I don't know.
Or to see if they got a work wife or a work husband.
Yeah, see what that's like.
That
Yeah.
they never told you about.
Pay attention to that person over there eyeing you down, you talking. Yeah, all I ask is a way to know. You gotta, I don't know. Of course you can argue this is being suspect and stuff, but I mean, if you wanna know, you gotta kind of sometimes put yourself out there and put stuff so that you can see it, what it would really be like. I get that.
That shouldn't draw an argument, but to them players out there,
Right.
they were like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" You catch them off guard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you got to be careful now. I think now more than ever, discernment is big. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, dating now is very complex. We have too many distractions than 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Or 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's very complex. You have to make sure that you all can make it. You don't want to be a person that you want to make sure that when you get married, you're married. You don't have to worry about getting into another marriage.
Right.
So that's what we're trying to portray here and try to help you all out with, and making sure that you understand what being marriage fit is all about.
Yeah.
So
another one I thought about, maybe like going, I don't know, I'm really trying to apply this to see if it's really something that people could do. I don't want to but maybe try like having a time where you guys aren't on your phone, like having like if y'all are spending some time together, and see like if their phone is always like going off or something like that. Not saying to check their phone, but just be like, hey, I would love to spend like time for you. Could we have this moment of like where we don't be on our phone, and see how they respond to that? Because if they have an issue like not being on their phone a lot, that's bad for marriage. Yeah, that's a red flag.
If you're always on, dating.
Yeah, if you're always on your phone and stuff like that, so kind of how they would respond to something like that, like, or a little just little things that of y'all connecting and stuff like that. That would be one way. I don't know.
That's a good one.
That's all I got though that I could think of. Yeah, but of course, like you said before, just remember to be patient with all of this. Don't rush into anything. Discernment certainly takes time, and certainly when it comes to marriage, you want to vet your spouse and take the time to really see if they're the one for you, certainly before you go all in and get yourself into a risky situation. So if you can really pay attention and tap into yourself and learn to really hone in that discernment from the inner guidance aspect of it, being able to ask for help in learning different ways of learning yourself and guiding yourself and having those higher faculties connected, it's really going to help you navigate through this time that we're in. Because I think it's important that all of us have some sort of spirituality rooted in us, and it not necessarily has to be religion, but discernment really is connected to the spiritual side a lot, and a big part of being able to guide us through life and making sure that we're in the right situations and not being taken advantage of, even those who pray to their ancestors and stuff like that. All of that is like ways of really being able to tap into higher sources that are here for guidance, and we'll really be able to work through it. And in particular, people forget that when it comes to communicating with God, your angels, your spiritual and ascended masters, whoever you want to call it, they communicate through our thoughts. That is how we communicate. So in everything, you can even communicate with animals through your thoughts. That's how it goes. But it may sound crazy, but it's true. But the more that you can learn to discern those good thoughts from those bad thoughts, those thoughts that are rooted in actual sense, and those thoughts that probably were picked up from somewhere that aren't rooted in truth, once you can really discern that, it's really going to be helpful for you in making those wise decisions for your life. So
right. To me, it doesn't have to be that complex.
It is though, but it's true. It doesn't have to
I mean,
be.
because
It
you can
doesn't
see
have
red
to be.
flags, you know, and then
Yeah.
I just think of the comments that you know, that I've seen before, and then the women that say that, you know, they've started relationships with men, and
Yeah.
you know, they've built these men up for them to leave them. I believe that there were red flags along the way that were ignored because of that cost. What do you call it? Because of
Sunken cost
sunken
fallacy.
cost fallacy.
Yeah.
You know, you pour your money into a situation and then you refuse to leave it, and you expect that person to change because you invested your time, hard work, and effort into something that equaled zero.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I think. A lot of times people ignore red flags because they're in disbelief that this is happening to them,
Yeah.
and they don't want to believe it. So
Yeah. Fear stricken you in a bunch of ways.
right. I mean, yeah, you can say it's fear, but I just think it's, you know, just not wanting you're wanting someone to change. You're wanting what you want, and yeah, it could be fear, but I think it's more so that you're just refusing to believe that this situation is happening after I've spent all of this time and money and effort to try to pour into this person,
Yeah.
and it equals zero. There are signs out there. Don't ignore those signs. So
Yeah.
that's what how I see things. You know, I'm more of a grounded earthly person. So
Yeah,
you know,
right.
you can handle
That's
all
how
that.
we are. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. That's really how we are. And that's why, again, I love our platform because we, as much as we're married, happily married, and in unison, we are very different. But the fact that we know our differences and we are completely aware of how very different we are, and we use those to our advantage of working together, that also is how we're going to use them to help you all, because we're completely different and we have different perspectives of things. But, you know, the feminine perspective is
Another
useful
question.
and the masculine perspective is useful. You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, here we go. Let's see. How would you guys handle one spouse is trying to build generational wealth, but the other spouse does not comprehend it and only wants to spend and travel? Oh boy, that we just watched a video today. Dave Ramsey. I don't know if you all had seen this video, but Dave Ramsey has been trying to get on to relationships in a little bit, but he was talking about how when it came to millionaires, 85% of millionaires were married, and it was based on their spouse, well, the spouses being on one accord with their financial decisions, and how important that was in order for your relationship to work, and how it truly would kind of make or break things. But especially if you're married, how understanding, you know, how you can find that middle ground, right, of talking about it, budgeting, being able to figure out common goals, right? So you're looking at two different things. So say, for example, one, okay, let's use this specifically. One wants to have generational wealth and the other wants to spend and travel. So then that's really just going to come down on seeing what is a shared common goal between both of this. Well, in order to have generational wealth, in order to spend and travel, you got to have the money anyway. So maybe coming together and putting aside a pot that's like your shared goals pot, right? And you're just dedicating a certain amount of money to this pot that then you go and you delegate, kind of, you know,
Right.
a percentage of this pot will go to this and a percentage of this pot will go to that. But in order to get through the kind of the discord, you just pull that into making it a shared goal. So you don't focus on the disbursement of this goal yet, just kind of put it into a little smaller pot of, all right, this is one pot of money that we're going to put towards saving money.
Right.
You know, yeah.
What I would do is, in regards to generational wealth, educate your spouse as much as you can
Certainly,
of the importance of generational wealth.
Yeah.
I would like to ask whether you all have children.
Yeah.
And tell them that, hey, you know, generational wealth has a lot to do with our children, and making sure that they are set up in a great spot when we are gone, or when they get older.
Yeah.
And emphasize the importance of that, because of how people are living today, paycheck to paycheck. To me, that is more important than traveling, going on trips.
Yeah.
Generational wealth to me is more important than leisure activities.
Yeah.
You know, where we're currently at in our society is very, it's a hard place for some folks, being the fact that the majority of people are living paycheck to paycheck, and we all know how this feels, and we don't like the feeling of this. And it's important for us to make it better for our children. You know, you may say, a lot of us know that, you know, in the Black communities, that our generational wealth may have been stolen from us. If we can trace our ancestry back to, you know, our ancestors may have owned businesses and things like that. We all know what happened. You know, Rosewood and, you know, Black Wall Street and all of that. Topeka, Kansas.
You can go even further back to the natives and the
Right,
Trail
native,
of Tears,
right,
and
you know. So being with, you know, with that being said, generational wealth is very important. So to give your seed, give your children a leg up in this world.
Yeah,
that is the advice that I would give to my spouse, to try to convince her. Understand that, you know, when you talk about trying to make somebody do something, you can only inspire change. So you have to play to your strengths. And I think that the best way to do that is to bring the idea of your children into it, and the importance of doing it for them, because traveling and spending money is all about you and your, you know, you and your wife. But when you talk about generational wealth, that talks about the love of your children and making sure that they are well off, better than how you all started. So that's how I would do it.
And education, you're spot on, because generational wealth is
not,
education,
right, and
it's not just money.
And it's not told to us in school. I never took a generational wealth class before.
But wealth is in the knowledge. Like people always say, a millionaire, it's not the money that it takes for the money that it makes them a millionaire, but the thoughts and the behaviors and the ideologies that they had to adopt in order to become a millionaire. It's that knowledge that really matters.
And it's not, I mean, to be honest with you, to be a millionaire, it really isn't, it's not really that hard. It takes hard work. It's the mindset, and you hear that a lot. But one of the key things that I've learned is to own a home. You know, being a millionaire starts there, owning a home, and then advancing in their career.
And a family. Like we said, 85% of millionaires are married.
Billionaires.
Are married.
Same thing for billionaires. 85 to 80 to 85% of billionaires are married.
Right.
And then for the millionaires, most of those people were married before they became millionaires.
Because of I think more important, because of kind of the check that marriage provides, kind of the layer of, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm tired, brain fog, but when the accountability, the added layer of accountability that you have because you're married. And in a way, one spouse is supposed to, like you want to do, help keep the other spouse in line, or help, bring that in agreement, especially if one spouse is more financially savvy than the other spouse. It really helps to bring everybody on one accord and help navigate through life in a better way together. So I think that this isn't, of course, when it comes to finances, finances was like one of the third biggest things within a marriage that really has to be talked about and tackled in order to make sure that you guys, don't go down that nasty route we're not going to talk about. But if you can just, again, work on the education aspect, like my husband said, and then focus more on taking your mind out of the own personal desire aspect and putting it towards a shared goal, and then later on being able to delegate that down into ways that you all are able to have a little more for generational wealth, have a little more for spend and travel, have a little more for that. But if you can kind of pull it out of that, because that's where the discomfort is, that's where the discord is right now, so you can't focus so much on that. And we can't say that you gotta say, oh, this is what we're gonna do, because sometimes that will push a spouse away, so.
Well, I mean, when you talk about building generational wealth, that takes a massive it takes time, but it takes massive amount of dollars. I don't think I mean, it depends on what your salary is. If you can save, like my wife's saying, to put it into a pot or whatever the case may be, you may need to extend out on a home and then use your home equity to actually build generational
other
wealth.
Revenue streams of other revenue streams.
You use other people's money, which is the bank, to make more money for you, and pay that stuff off, and then you go and do it again with that same property that you have. Go get another home equity loan, take that money, and then buy another property or
Yeah.
whatever. That's generational wealth.
Yeah.
Generational wealth is nothing more than actually just having a house and then having someone renting out of it, and then
We're creating some type
having
of business.
right.
Well, yeah.
That is your business. That's your real estate business. That's how that works. The bank will keep giving you loans if you're paying all of your bills on time, and then for you to purchase another property if you own
Yeah.
multiple said properties. That's something that they don't tell us either, but I found that out for myself too. So, and multiple people would tell you that too. So,
Yeah.
it's like Monopoly. You keep buying properties on that property, and then ultimately you got one big property somewhere.
Yeah.
Because you're getting this loan money from the bank. The bank
Yeah.
has to loan out people money. The bank doesn't make money if they don't loan money. So if you're making good on your payments and you're making money with the bank, they're going to keep loaning you money. That's just it. That's just how it works. There's no secret to it. But it starts with one home. You have to own that one home first, and then try to find other houses out there, and just wait until I would say around December or either a year from now. Unfortunately, especially after these student loans kick in, because a lot of people have substituted their student loan income for their mortgage of their home that was overpriced. Unfortunately, once those kick in, a lot of people are going to start losing their homes. And they're going to be looking for places to rent. So that's when the people who are well off are going to start buying, doing what I said. They're going to take home equity loans out and buy these homes that people can rent out.
Yeah. Or business equity loans. Yeah. We kind of digress, but that is exactly how you can increase your revenue, because that's the main, really all of this is going to boil down to, if you don't have the money to be able to put aside and do all that you just when you do, then you just got to focus on increasing your revenue. Maybe adjust your goals a little bit to there.
Moving up in careers, trading jobs. It's too many. There's a lot of jobs out here. Not enough people working those jobs.
Yeah.
So this is advancing your career. And then like my wife said, save that money aside for travel. Make budget the travel.
Yeah.
And then you'll make sure that you're spending just the right amount, nothing extra for travel activities.
Yeah.
But budget the spending and the travel.
Yeah, because if you budget it, you make time for it, or you make it.
You set it aside.
Yeah.
You set it aside so that it doesn't interfere with your daily money, your savings, and all this other stuff that you may have.
And so it can come about. Like, I really think all things, if you budget for it, then you can have it. If you don't budget for it,
that's the purpose of budgeting. You budget your year out,
and
then you set all your expenses aside so you can see how much you actually have for travel.
Yeah.
So budget and show your wife actually what you all have for travel. You don't have to travel please don't travel every year.
Yeah, y'all don't have
but
it like
if you
that,
don't have it like that, please don't do that. But you can save up for that.
Yeah.
You can save up for a good travel trip or vacation or what have you.
Yeah, compromise.
So that is just my opinion. That is my advice. Do your own research, of course, but that's what I've learned.
Maybe add in a financial advisor, go further into, especially if you're talking the education aspect. If your wife isn't as, financially savvy and she needs a little more education, sometimes it will really help if you can bring in a financial advisor who can really show her in a different light and, be more professional than hopefully it's more convincing.
Right. Because, and if like I said, generational wealth is no more than having an additional property. Buy properties for your children, set that aside for them. So they may not even want the house, but they probably want to rent it out. And that's generational wealth for them too.
Yeah. I'm making it all happen, but my wife doesn't care to understand. I'm retired and we would be good no matter what. I just wish she understood and cared about generational wealth. Yeah, and then that's all about just trying your best. And kudos on you to, you're making it all happen and you're doing all you got to do. But then all you really can do is continue to educate your wife as much as possible. Maybe adjust your approaches on how you're, approaching her with it, the whole idea. Maybe if she likes to read things, buy new books. If she likes to watch videos, try new videos, make it a whole little date night thing where y'all sitting down just watching an educational video on financing. Especially if it's something, if you can cater it to making it enjoyable for her, give her favorite snack while she's watching it or something. I don't know. Your approach is really just how you gotta. And sometimes if it don't work one way, you can just try a little bit more, and try a different way. So kudos on you on not giving up. And I think, especially if you continue to express it to her and try to show it to her in different ways, she should definitely start to open herself up to it and really see it from your perspective. But of course, if it's always harder, maybe to considering, if don't let this become such a big deal that, you know, it breaks down in communication. And if that is the case, then make sure you bring in a third party to really help you all and maybe, you know, help you facilitate that a little bit more, or even just for yourself of giving you more ideas of, you know, specifically how you could probably bring it to your spouse in a way that she can better receive it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's all really you can do in marriage. A lot with that. That's about the most I can think of for the
Right.
most
But
part.
congratulations on being retired. He says he's
Yeah.
retired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That is
Because retirement is going to look a lot different when I retire.
yeah.
And I know because I work for a retirement business. So,
Yeah.
So yeah, congratulations on that.
Yeah. Yep. I think retirement is looking different for a lot of people because, like, in general, they were saying you need now it seemed like baby boomers are coming back into the workforce because of retirement and not being able to keep up with inflation.
Yeah, not having enough along the way with inflation, because inflation, your salary doesn't go up with the cost of inflation.
Yeah.
You know, it really doesn't. So that's something that I've learned too.
Yeah.
So.
And you don't I'm not saying to throw in, you know, a fear-based tactic, but
it's facts is facts.
Right. But to actually helping her to be aware of, hey, things are at this point, maybe bring to her what it looks like, your finances look like, right? And show her, hey, this is, you know, if we keep this up or try to do what you want to do for the next 5 years, it could put us in this position. But if we can do it a little bit this way, you know, then we can better position ourselves for the future to where we can enjoy ourselves. Because, you know, y'all retired too, so she's enjoying herself. She can enjoy herself, but also still plan for the future with the generational wealth like you want to do. So
yeah, make money.
Yeah.
So you want to use your money to make money. So
yeah.
Or either use other people's money to make money. So.
Yeah. The whole idea of delayed gratification will certainly come into play here.
Mm-hmm.
If, you know, you have to build up a little more money to be able to do the things she wants to do and the things you want to do. So there's nothing wrong with delayed gratification. It will definitely pay off in the end if you really if you have the tenacity to stick through it. So yeah, thank you for your questions. Any more? Let me see. Hold on. Let me go back to Instagram. What's up, Full House on Instagram? Any questions? I don't see anything.
Yep. But I would go ahead and call it the show for the night. It's been over an hour. Thank you all for joining us tonight. It's the weekend. Congratulations. We made it.
Yeah.
It's Marriage Fit Friday.
Enjoy yourself.
So yeah, enjoy yourself. If you know anybody who needs to have heard this message or seen this video, please share it with them. Mm-hmm. Also to Instagram viewers, if you all can, all 6,000 plus of you all can, if you all can translate all of that to our YouTube, we really appreciate it. We're still gaining numbers on our YouTube channel. We really appreciate both platforms and you all chiming in with us and enjoying our videos.
And it will come. Either way, you're where you're supposed to be at. So thank y'all for tuning in. No matter Facebook, we always forget about Facebook too.
Oh yeah, Facebook, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah. No, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you guys for the comments. We love that.
Yeah. So until next time, Blueprint family, thank you all for joining us, and you all have a good night and wonderful weekend. Peace.